Welcome back to Don's Life. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining today. Today we're going to take a closer look at a new product by Putco called the Freedom Blade. Let's go. So Putco reached out to me, and I think it might have something to do with a couple of years ago me installing the original Blade LED on my GMC Sierra AT4. And now we have a new upgrade to do, which is the Freedom Blade. But before I get into all those details, I wanted to compare what this blade has or doesn't have compared to the new one. So like the original, this comes in two different lengths. There's a 48-inch and a 60-inch. I've got the 60-inch right here. It's still a multi-function light. It's going to add running lights, still act as brake lights, turn signals, hazards, and your reverse lights. It's still just as durable as before. It's still encapsulated in a tinted polycarbonate resin, which is going to keep out the dust and keep it waterproof. Still has a 3-year warranty, and it comes with a plug-and-play harness, which you're going to want if you have any trailer tech, because the electrical systems on these trucks these days, they know if you've tapped into something when you shouldn't, and this harness is built specifically so you don't run into any errors. It's still designed and manufactured in the USA. Now for the exciting stuff. This has an industry exclusive startup sequence. When you lock or unlock your vehicle, you can choose different animations to work on this LED light strip. So this blade has 3 colors. It has red, amber, and white. And on this one here, you don't have to choose which one to buy to switch between amber or red for your turn signals, because it has both. And it gets even cooler. So when you go to signal, you can choose standard flash or sequential signals. I know you like that. You can set this up to flash 3 times with your brake lights, just to get those people that aren't paying attention to maybe see a little sooner. So the Freedom Blade now actually has more power running to it, so we get much brighter backup lights, and they were bright already. So this has 1296 individual LEDs on it, which is going to give us a nice seamless structure for any of the light that we're projecting. So it's not broken up into a lot of single LEDs, gives it a much nicer and tasteful look. And Putco claims this is probably the most advanced tailgate light bar ever made, and probably up to a decade ahead of anyone else on what they're doing when it comes to these type of products. So what we'll do in the video today, as to not confuse any viewers, is I will take out the old light bar and the harness, put it all back to factory, so we start from scratch, and then you can see me do the install on the Freedom Blade. All right, everything's taken out. Let's have a look at the new parts. Here is the nice 60-inch blade. You're going to have 4 of these clips. These will connect through a screw or adhesive. We're going to do the adhesive route to the sheet metal just underneath the tailgate. So we'll get to that a little later. So our blade has a disconnect right here that will connect here once it's in place to our driver box. This is where the magic happens. The driver box has a power lead that will connect here. This will run all the way to the front of my truck, to the fuse panel, to an ignition source, so it's switched with the ignition. We'll get to that a little later. And then from the driver box, it is going to go to this 4-pin harness and this backup lead here. So this will connect there, this will connect here, and now we'll have connections to our left tail light, our right tail light, without any faults. That's the importance of this harness. And then we should be good to go to have this operating. Now you might have noticed this wire right here. This is for programming the blade. So this needs to be grounded out. It's probably easiest to do it right here where the 4-pin connector is, but that would be under the vehicle, and I don't think that would be convenient. So there is a solution for that. We can connect this wireless controller switch essentially to the wiring in here, which we will be doing, and then that will allow us to control the programming remotely with this remote right here. So if you end up looking at getting one of these Freedom Blades, I'd go with the remote. That way you can change the lighting scheme much easier by remote and not have to crawl under the vehicle. Okay, let's get started with mounting the Freedom Blade. We are going to install all the clips with the adhesive. Now we want to make sure it's properly cleaned before we put the adhesive on, so we are going to use 90% isopropyl alcohol. Now if you look closely, you can see I have 2 clips mounted already. That's because I already had some screw holes in there, so I just used those for guides to place these ones, but this time I didn't put the screw inside. So next I'm going to clip the light bar in there, and then I'm going to put the other brackets down at this end and the far end, and not have them pressed in yet with the adhesive. I'm gonna peel the backing off later. I'm trying to do it this time without taking the tailgate off. It's much easier if you do, but the most critical part of this installation is making sure that you're low enough, and you can use this center hole for the tailgate wiring as a bit of a guide. but you want to have it low enough that when the tailgate folds down, and I'll show you how close it gets here, the tailgate almost touches the bracket. So I have them low enough, I've tested it, it's not touching, it's not rubbing, we're clear, but just be mindful of that before you get too far in this installation. So I'm going to clip this in now. So it's clipped in, this one's clipped in. Okay, we're ready to mount the Freedom Blade. I've got the brackets at the ends on and clipped in. We still got to peel this backing off. I've only done it part way because I want to clip it to the brackets that are in place. Make sure that it's nice and straight. It's actually going to go this way. Make sure it's nice and straight. And that way there's no undue pressure on it at all. I can have it clipped in, make sure it's nice and true. Line these up so they're even using my old holes as guides. Or you could count the LEDs, you can also do it that way. And then I'm going to pull this out from behind and then press it into place. Same with this side here, so wish me luck. All right, got the Freedom Blade mounted. The tailgate does not hit, that's very important. Sorry, it's a little difficult to film, but I think you get the gist of what needed to happen. Now we're going to hook up the quick connect harness in between each of the tail light harnesses. You just follow the harness from each of your tail lights and you'll notice plugs that look like these. This goes in line. There's one marked passenger side and one marked driver side. We'll get these in place and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, the quick connect harness is in place. Before I tie up all the wires and make it look nice, I have to remember that we are still going to install the Freedom Blade driver box. So that mounts under there. There's a spot for it, they say, or a couple spots, so we should be good. We'll figure that out when we get to it. Then that will connect to the harness we just put in place. But first, I want to tackle the wiring to get the extra power to the driver box. So we're going to use this fuse tap that they give you, and we're going to connect it. I already have this loose from opening it. Tuck the wire out here, go down the firewall, along the frame with all the main harness wiring that's there, get under the box, make sure we don't get close to the exhaust, and then get it back to the center of the truck over in that area so we can hook it up to the driver box. Okay, I've run everything exactly like I outlined earlier. Everything is connected. I've done some soldering, some heat shrink tubing. We got power to the driver box. We got the remote hooked up. I've tested everything. It works really, really well. I'm not going to show it quite yet because I have to go and tuck everything up under here, make sure it's secured, out of the way, not going to snag on anything. I'll take care of that now, and then we'll do a reveal and I'll show you how to program it. All right, everything's ready to go. I'm going to give you a demonstration of the startup sequence, and then I'm going to show you the programming. So let's do the startup sequence first that I have programmed in. I'm going to hit unlock. Starts off with white, then we get this green animation, and then we get some fireworks action there. So that's my new startup sequence. Pretty cool. All right, let me do a demonstration of the programming. Now to do that, we are hooked up to an ignition source, so the truck has to be running. So I'm going to explain briefly what we have to do right now. Then when you watch it happen, you'll kind of know what I'm doing because I've explained it in advance. So first, we have to start the vehicle. It needs to finish the startup sequence. The manual says let it run for about a minute. Probably don't have to wait that long. Just make sure the startup sequence is completed. Then on your remote control, you're going to hit A, and that's going to enter programming mode. And then you start pushing button B, and it'll go through all the different startup animations. Then you don't do anything for a few seconds. It'll time out, and you'll see the signal light start to blink. That means we're now in signal light programming mode, and all I have to do is keep hitting B, pick all the different animations or colors, red or amber, and then when I like the one that I want to keep, I don't do anything for a few seconds, and then it'll switch to the full LED bar, which is for the brake light choice on what we want to do. So then we just keep hitting B, and we can decide if we just want the blinking, if we just want a solid beam. It's really up to us. So I'm going to start the truck, and we're going to show you all the different examples. Now keep in mind this demonstration is during daytime. Just imagine at nighttime, it's going to seem way brighter. I'd like to thank Putco for making this video possible. Thanks for partnering with me. It's a fun install to do. I'm curious if you guys like the upgrade, leave your comments down below. If you want to pick yourself up a Freedom Blade, I'll leave all the information down below. But if you like today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing. We'll talk to you next time.